I also want to make sure that you guys understand this is a basic Photoshop class, but it's different, okay? This is a Photoshop class that was written for digital artists, okay? Which means, yes, we're going to start with very basic things, selections and all that kind of stuff. But then we're going to move into much more complex things, digital painting, gradient mapping, all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically for you people that are in illustration, entertainment design, or even graphic designers. You know, it's good stuff to know how to do. Also, I think we're going to be able to get the labs open like at least a few days a week, I think. That will be good for you guys if you can go, and, you know, we'll put up measures in there where you're, you know, sitting 6 feet apart and wear a mask and all that stuff. But it'd be good for you guys when we get into stuff where it's better to use a tablet, to use a Cintiq. You could also use, hang on. Let me find mine, hang on. Could also use one of these, which is just a little tabletop tablet. Or you can use it. I do set it up sort of right now where if you don't have either one of those things, that's fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be better for you if you do that little one that I have, the Intuos, the Wacom Intuos one. I got that at Best Buy. They have, when I went there, they had one for like $79. I think the one I bought was $99. And I think they work really good. I've used it for years before I started using Cintiqs and all that stuff, and I thought it was fine. And I like that too because I can keep it in my backpack, and when I'm traveling or something, I have, you know, I have a tablet. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're going to go all the way down the rabbit hole of, you know, custom brushes, and I mean reactive brushes and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go pretty far down that rabbit hole by the time we are done with this. I'm assuming that most people I have in here are coming from that background, more entertainment, illustration, that kind of thing. But I welcome graphic designers in here because I think it's a really good skill set to add to your skill set. And I've got a lot of really good graphic designers who are becoming really good illustrators and adding that to their skill set. And I think that's a big deal. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so let's look at this because I think that's enough time. What do I have here? And I don't have anybody that's adding, right? No?
No.
Okay, so let me share my screen with you. And also another thing, for anybody who's, you know, has some experience in Photoshop and all that stuff, bear with me on the beginning of it because we will get to the more complex stuff quicker than you think. It actually happens pretty fast. But I do think you need to look at these other things in case you don't know them. I've had people in here who like know how to do channel selections, but they go, I never really understood it. Okay, I want to make sure you understand all this stuff so when you leave here, you can sort of use these tools in your own way and put them together. I want you to speak the language. I don't want you to just do rote behavior. Like memorization doesn't just, it's not memorization, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look through here. Can you guys see my screen? You can, right?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yep.
Okay, we don't care about that. Don't care about that. What I just told you is your student learning outcomes. What I want you to do is I want you to be really good at Photoshop in a fairly advanced way, okay? But we'll start very basic. All right, this phones thing, obviously that's usually in a classroom setting, but I have, you know, every teacher I've talked to during this thing, they got kids sitting there looking at their phone, and I can see you're doing that unless you turn your thing off. And then they come back to you and they go, oh, I don't get this, I don't get that. It's like, well, you're looking at your phone. There's nothing I can do about that, okay? So just pay attention, okay? I think that's obvious. Grading, I'm gonna grade 2 ways. I do exercises, so like starting tomorrow, we'll just start burning through simple exercises and learning simple tools and things like that. Those I just throw 10 points at, and then we have projects. And as we get further out, I'm gonna give you a lot more time on projects because they're gonna get more complex, okay? So, you know, on a bigger project, that's gonna be 100 points because it's a bigger project, okay? And then here's your standard grading scale. And I will keep up with everything on Canvas in here because now I've kind of got a system for it, because when we first went to this online thing, you have to cobble together a system and everything. And I have that now. So I'm going to try and keep everything up to date in real time on Canvas. So if you see a grade on there and you go, wait a minute, you said I handed in late. I didn't hand it in late. Maybe I'll go back and check. Okay. Because obviously I make mistakes. This is all boilerplate stuff. This academic honesty, I put in here just because it's sort of a boilerplate thing. We are going to use images from online. We're not, the only time you got to worry about this is if you're putting out in the world, like, selling something or it's an ad or something real. We're just using these things to do exercises and things. So don't worry about the plagiarizing stuff. What I would say is don't plagiarize other people's ideas and other people's work. Okay. But images are fair game in here. And then we start getting into all this. This is really a guideline more from me than anything. And I just leave it in here because it kind of reminds me of things that I'm doing and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to go through it in this order or anything in that kind of way. It's a broad strokes thing for me to sort of shape the class. Okay. Is there any questions on any of that?
No, sounds good.
Okay. What was I going to say? There was something I was going to say. Do I have any graphic designers in here?
I do some.
Okay, good. I like getting graphic designers. I don't know why, but they seem to take this stuff really well. They seem to take the illustration stuff really well. I'm assuming I have some entertainment people or illustration people in here. This class is really good for you guys because we'll get into some painting things and just different things that fit into that. And there's certain points of view that I have on that. And I think it's good for you, especially if you haven't had digital painting yet, or even if you have. It'll give you sort of a foundation to go into it with and a logic to go into it if you're going to go into like digital painting or advanced digital painting or any of that kind of stuff. I also at some point want to know, because I know some of you in here, I want to, like, we're going to go through this basic stuff. And if you're somebody who's like, fairly advanced or whatever, and you're waiting to get to that stuff, like, let me know and I might kind of change the projects a little bit for you. Okay. It just depends on where you're at. Okay. And there was something else I wanted to go over with you guys. Hang on a sec. The other thing was, and it's a little weirder to do in here, but you could text me or email me or whatever. I like knowing what people are trying to do. I had somebody in my last this class, and she was getting into interior design. So I had a project where I took her interior CAD drawings and showed her how to make them into like finished renderings of all these interior spaces and then exterior spaces. Like, I like knowing, that gave me a good idea for a project. And I also just like knowing what all you guys are trying to accomplish. Okay. Because, there's probably 3 or 4 categories of what people are trying to accomplish in here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Professor,
Yeah, definitely.
I'm an advertising major. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
What's your real name?
It's Tajin.
Oh, it is?
Uh-huh.
Because you sound like somebody I had in another class.
This is my first time taking.
What's that?
Thank you. This is my first time taking the class, but I just wanted to make sure if it was okay.
Yeah. Have you done any Photoshop before?
A few for like side projects, but I'm not too advanced in it.
Yeah, I don't want anybody. This isn't an advanced class. It's interesting because this class was written to solve a problem, which is we have Dart 100 and you go in there and you learn some Photoshop, some InDesign, and some Illustrator. But it felt very geared to graphic designers for me. And there's, and then on Photoshop or Illustrator, I'm like, man, I want to go way down the rabbit hole in these things. And you really couldn't do it. And we needed one that was more, a beginner's class that goes to a much more advanced level by the end. And the reason we're doing that is because this class is designed for when, like, Frank gets you in his 3D class, he needs certain things that you already need. You already need to know Photoshop. Or if you go into Dart 107 or 108, you need to already know these things. And then you go into there and it's just digital drawing. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you for explaining.
or digital painting, or in your class, it'd be really good for you for comps and things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have a few classes that require Photoshop that are coming up, so I think this will be really helpful.
Yeah, if you don't know the Creative Cloud or whatever they're calling it now, the Adobe thing, you're dead in the water. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to know those things. And and entertainment design students, I'm trying to get through to them too, that they need to know Illustrator. I just had a student and she just got a job at MGA, if you know what that is. They're a huge toy company and they make brats, or they used to make brats and all that stuff. But they're huge. And what I've always told the entertainment design students is like, look, when you're doing those character cleanups and things like that, they're going to be an Illustrator. And she got over there first day and she goes, oh, it's all Illustrator, you know? It's all drawing and then going in and inking it in Illustrator. So those are things that you just need to start learning. In your case, in advertising, I would still learn Illustrator. I would get my hands in everything a little bit. InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And I just had an advertising major. You know Sarah Park?
I do not.
Okay, she was in my last Illustrator class, I think. Man, she killed it. And she's no advertising major. Okay.
Okay, that's reassuring to hear. Thank you.
And look, I'm not gonna. My teaching style is not to go. There's a couple things I don't do. One thing I don't do is just go memorize this process, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, because you're never going to learn anything that way. You're just going to memorize something, and then the goal here is not just memorization, is going, okay, I understand that tool set, and then I understand this, and I understand that, and you start putting things together your own way, not going back to a piece of paper and going, okay, if I want to do this, I do this. That doesn't work. Okay, that's how they taught this stuff when I first started learning it, and it just doesn't work. I didn't remember anything, and I didn't know how to put it together with anything. Okay, the other thing I'm not going to do is I'm never going to leave you hanging. I'm here to help you guys do this. So that means that I'm pretty much available all the time, usually. If you need to do an offline meeting with me, a Zoom meeting, and go, hey, I'm really having a hard time with this, tell me that, because I need to know that, okay? Or just in general, if the class in general is going, we're not kind of getting this or that, and I'll take a different approach to it, okay? But my job here is to make sure that you understand this stuff and that you get good at it, okay? And that's on me. But you guys got to, obviously you got to be good students, okay? But I'm here to help you, and I'm not here. I don't give out trophies for showing up. I'm not that kind of person, but I'm also not the kind of person who doesn't want to make sure that you guys are getting this. And there are no stupid questions in here, because all of us have been in college and not gotten some weird thing that we're just not getting, that you're looking around the rest of the class and you go, God, everybody gets this just fine. It's easy. Everybody has a mental block about something. And whenever you have that, tell me, okay? Because I'll deep dive into it if you need me to, or maybe I'll do a tutorial. I do a lot of tutorials for the class that I put on YouTube that are just specific. Like I just had my illustration class ask me how to do hair. So I did a whole tutorial on that, and that'll go up on YouTube. And in here, we're going to do 2 things. Simple things like probably tomorrow, where we're just starting to go through the tools and things like that. I'll probably just do in here. And then I record all that, and then right after the class thing, I edit it, and then I throw it up on YouTube, and then I put a link to it under announcements. The reason I do that, obviously, because it just makes sense. But I also do that because I don't want people sitting here taking notes the whole time and trying to remember every little thing. It's like, no, it's all going to be on this thing. And I'll edit out the crap at the beginning, because usually there's a lot of nonsense at the beginning, and I'll edit off the end, and I edit them a little bit if I think there's too much nonsense in it, okay? And if I think that that discussion that day was mostly about just that little demo part, I might just get rid of everything else and just put the demo part up. The other way I will do this is when things become much heavier lifting, like more complex things, I'll do a proper tutorial, and that will be up on, or I might have it from an old lecture or something. That will go up on YouTube. I will want you to look at that before we meet and sort of understanding, starting that process. And then when we meet in class, then you can start telling me what you're having problems with and what you're not understanding and that kind of thing. The reason I do that is I don't think it makes sense for me to do an hour-long lecture online. That just doesn't make sense to me. And if I put it on YouTube, that you guys can scrub through it, you can go, okay, I get this whole thing, and you scrub through it. Or you can go, okay, I'm going to watch half an hour of it, and then I'm going to go eat lunch, and I'll come back. It just makes it more sense to me. It's spending here and lecturing for 3 hours online doesn't make sense to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so anyway, simple discussions, we'll do them in here. I want a lot of questions. I have no problem when I'm demoing and things like that, talking, and I'm not one of those people who goes, oh wait, just let me finish my demo and then I can talk. I don't do that, okay? I have no problem going back and forth, and I love a discussion going on as we're doing things, okay? And I like that discussion going on in real time, because you're seeing things and going, wait, what was that? You know, in real time, and then I can answer it in real time, and then again, I'll put that online, okay? What else? Any questions?
What if we're just taking this class because we're just interested in it?
That's fine.
We're not like in advertising or any or like
What's your major?
linguistics.
Oh no, I had my last term of this class, last term. I'd say almost everybody in that class except for one person weren't an art major.
Oh, okay.
So I had a psychology major. I had the one who was interested in interior design. I had one. I mean, just all over the place. It was kind of interesting. I'm aware of that. And I also think, by the way, I think in other majors, I always tell people this, whether it's InDesign or Photoshop, I think Photoshop's a big one, or any of those ones I just talked about. I think it's a really good thing for you to do in any career, because you're going to have to probably do, what was your major again? Say it again.
Linguistics.
Yeah. So you might have to do a presentation or something like, you will have to do presentations and things like that. And I always call these freebies. So you go into, like my girlfriend the other day, she was in a Zoom meeting or whatever, and this person was doing a presentation from I forgot what they do. They do, they do this streaming thing. It was a really stupid idea. And she goes on there and she starts doing this insanely old school, boring PowerPoint presentation. And it went on forever. And I'm like, the good thing about that for you, if you learn like presentation techniques and things like that in a class like this or whatever, you're going to look like a rock star right out of the box, because everybody else is going to be they still do those boring presentations. And if you come in and actually put together a great presentation that's succinct and to the point and doesn't go on for 45 minutes where it's 3 bullet points on every slide, it makes a difference. Presentation and perception makes a big difference in a career. I don't care what career it is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We all have to do presentations. I've sat through presentations and those PowerPoint things literally where 3 people in the room are asleep and the person is still going 45 minutes later. It's totally insane. And it's weird to me that they do all these corporate leadership things and all that stuff. It's like, you need to do a corporate thing where you teach people how to do a presentation. It doesn't put everybody to sleep and doesn't bore them about your idea or your product or whatever. Okay. So yes, I do think there's a reason for you guys to be doing this. Okay.
I'm in the same boat. I'm a foreign language major. And do you have any suggestions? Do we have to get Photoshop? And do you have any suggestions on the most affordable way of getting it?
Well, you have to have Photoshop, obviously, right? But part of the reason we're trying to get the labs open is for that. Right now, Adobe, and I'm going to have, you know what? I just realized this. I got to put I think it's a PDF, and I'll try and get it today. There's a process where Adobe, I think, is still giving you Photoshop for free, I think. But you have to do it through your school email account, and I'll get the process today, and I'll put it up under announcements, or I'll try and get it today. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's just like this, like a lot of these companies you guys probably know, are right now during all this pandemic craziness and all this stuff, they're giving away their software for free for a while, okay? Which will probably be long enough for this class. But there is a process to it, because everybody started doing it when this all started. And one of my colleagues, Frank, he wrote a PDF, I think, on it, on the process of it, okay? So I'm pretty sure you should be able to get it. And also, for this class, I'm pretty sure they do that. But if they don't, I think for a student, I think it's $20 a month. And this class is going to be what goes from now until I think it's July. Get it for 2 months if you have to. It's $40. You know what I mean? And it might be even cheaper right now. But I think you can get it for free. Okay. Does that answer that?
Yep.
Okay. So I will try and get that up today. Thanks for reminding me of that. Let me write it down. Otherwise, I'm going to forget. We meet at 10:30, Monday through Thursday. I'm going to always try and make sure it's in this room, which is my normal room. Usually, and I probably will for a little bit, we do 10:30 as opposed to 10:40 because Zoom doesn't give me those increments. It only gives me half-hour increments. Most of our classes will probably, except for some of them, when we get into more complex stuff, they'll be shorter than they would be in class because I'm not going to make you guys sit here and work online. It just doesn't make sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What you'll do is, I might go through like tomorrow, I'll probably go through, some selection tools and things like that. And then you'll work offline. And then the next day when we come in, that's sort of like the in-class time is at home. And then you'll come in and go, hey, I had a hard time with this and this and this. And then we'll start solving problems. And I'll start helping you guys through it. Okay? And I'm pretty hands-on. Again, if you're having problems, I want to know about it. I want to make sure I'm being clear. I want to make sure it's a two-way street, okay? I have to be clear. I have to give you the right information. And then you guys have to just pay attention and do the work, okay? Yes?
Got it.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so now we're at, early things that we're going to do. I'm going to screenshot this. Let me get rid of these. Hang on. I haven't had a chance to clean up after my last class, so I have to get all my stuff back together. The way I always take roll in this class right now is I just screenshot who's here and that's it, okay?
Okay.
So if you're late and you're not on there, because I've had a lot of students say, go, hey, I was there. And it's like, well, what time did you get there? Oh, I got there at, 11 o'clock. And I'm like, well, that's your problem. You're late. Like, and I'll be honest, I don't understand being late when your classroom is 10 feet from your bedroom. You know what I mean? Being late doesn't make any sense to me. There's no geography here, okay? There's no traffic, there's no geography. Let's see what else. Again, I like to always be available to you guys. So again, if you need offline time, that's totally fine. I'm still doing office hours anyway, and that just counts as my office hours anyway, okay? But I don't place specific office hours because why do it right now, okay? I just do it based on, hey, I need some help, and that's fine. I'll spend an hour with you or whatever on Zoom or however we have to do that, okay? Yeah?
Sounds good.
Good.
Elan,
Hi, Mike.
have you been out drawing?
Yeah, I drew yesterday, actually.
Good. By the way, the people who don't have, or aren't, drafts people or people who draw and all that stuff, we'll figure out other ways to do certain things because I don't want to limit it to just people that know how to draw and all that kind of stuff. There's some, like when we do, like one thing we do is like a canyon thing and stuff like that. That all provides the drawing for you. I'm not going to worry, or you can do your own. I don't care, but I have to approve it. So I want you to understand I'm very flexible on what your skill set is. Okay, I'm not going to just come in here and go, everybody has to know how to draw and everybody knows how to do this. I don't want to do that because I think it eliminates a lot of people, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. But if you're an entertainment person or an illustration person, or you want to try this or that, and you go, hey, I got a drawing, and it doesn't matter, by the way, if it's a pencil drawing, if it's a digital drawing, or whatever. I don't care. I want this to be super fluid. So you might have things, if you're a person who draws and all that, like I do in my sketchbook. I have a lot of things I could just pull out of my sketchbook, scan them, and then go in and render them out or paint them or whatever I want to do. Okay, so that part is super flexible. I'm going to give you a broad, unless it's like something I need you to learn specifically. but on, and also like if you're an advertising major, at some point we're going to do like a movie poster or something. I leave that, you might want to do something where you go, can I do this thing that I did for advertising? I'd like to, take that in and do it in Photoshop and really trick it out and all that stuff. I'm totally cool with that. Okay. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to make sure that you guys are using when you, all I'm trying to say is I'm flexible. This is a mechanics class, so I don't have to be as hard ass about this. If it was an advertising class, then it'd have to be very specific. And here, as long as you're accomplishing what I want you to accomplish, I'm pretty open. All I want to do, though, is make sure whatever you're starting with is worth starting with. So if we're doing a rendering of a canyon or something, it's like, okay, this has to be a full value drawing and it has to be super finished. If you don't have that, I'll provide that, okay? Because it's not about the drawing. I'm not going to worry about that unless you want to make it about the drawing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so it's also, I have to do a lot of work because I actually planned on the 2 weeks since the term ended, I planned on getting all my stuff done. A lot of it is done from the last class, the class before that and all that. But there's a lot of stuff I'm adding all the time because we're online. So the normal thing in class, I could just go walk over, and what I usually do in classes, and I'll do it in here too, is I do a lot of overlays and correction over your stuff, and we'll do a lot of that in here. That's a lot of what we'll do in class. I find it much more valuable if I work over your individual stuff as opposed to, I can do a demo and show you, but then I need to work on your individual stuff. When I was a student, that worked the best for me because they were correcting things that I was doing and it was apples to apples a little more than me going, okay, well, everybody's doing this, so I'm going to do this big broad strokes demo. I think it's better if I get more focused on everybody's stuff. So I usually end up going through everybody's stuff. And right now I've got 16. That's not bad. Okay, I can go through everybody's stuff pretty easily. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
And again, if you want to focus in on something a little bit, that's fine. Just let me know, because I want to start getting that conversation going where you guys are telling me like, hey, I'm trying to do this, trying to do that. It's interesting to me. Okay. And again, in this kind of class, I can kind of shape it a little more and sort of try and help you out with whatever it is you're trying to do. Okay. Or even if it's just like linguistics major or whatever, and you just go, and he just said, or, hey, I'm just interested in this or whatever. And then show me like, yeah, I really like this kind of stuff. Show me that stuff so I can start to get a handle on where everybody's trying to go. Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
I think that's all I need to cover today. What we're going to, oh, here's the other thing. It's a little different than in class, but make sure that you have this, everything you do stored in 2 places. Cloud and desktop is fine, right? Because we're not really carrying things back and forth right now, obviously, so you don't really need a thumb drive as much. Or keep it on a thumb drive, whatever. But make sure, or an external drive, make sure you have it in 2 places, okay? I don't like that when people go, oh, I lost my file or whatever, it got corrupted. And I always say this, it's a 2020 version of my dog ate my homework. It's BS, okay? It means I didn't do my work, okay? That's how I see it. Manage your files, okay? Manage your time, manage your files, okay? Does anybody in here have 2 classes this summer?
Yeah. I do.
Yep.
What do you got?
3.
3?
I got 3.
I've taken
What are the 3 classes?
Math, this, and disaster preparedness.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't even know we had disaster preparedness.
That's at Cypress. I take a few at Cypress too.
That's
I'm
interesting.
supposed to be taking like court reporting, but it hasn't populated into my Canvas, so I don't even know if it's gonna happen.
Like the
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. I know somebody who did that years and years ago. Anybody else?
I have,
Yeah,
I have 3.
What's your 3?
I have art history, ancient to medieval,
Okay.
this, and anthropology of magic, witchcraft, and religion.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Ooh, that's a fun class.
What, Noah, what's your major?
I'm currently undecided yet. I want to do something like computer related, like
Oh.
either some kind of graphic design or some kind of like game design type things.
Don't think of it as computer related, right?
Right.
It's design related.
Design related.
Okay. So your skill set, your foundational skill set should be in design And if you want it to be in whatever, I mean, if you want to be a programmer, that's probably different. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to be on the design side of it, and one of the things that I'm trying, me and Frank especially, really trying to push is design thinking. And even if you're going to be a programmer, I think you should be a design thinker. I think it's good for any major to be a design thinker, solve problems, that kind of thing, and think in that way, think in a broader creative way and that sort of thing. But if you're going to go into anything that has to do with design, even in the drawing and everything, I always tell people, I go, look, the drawing has to be in service to the design, because nobody cares if you just make a bunch of beautiful life drawings. It has to be in service to the design. Okay.
Okay.
So think of yourself, and your tools don't matter. I mean, yes, we happen to be in an age of digital tools, and that's fine. But like 90% of the stuff I started over my career started on paper. Okay. And by the way, my background is I've worked for companies like Imagineering. I was a toy design director for the Disney stores. I had a long career as a toy designer. I've worked for Warner Brothers, Disney, Nickelodeon, everybody. Okay. I've done consumer products. I've done set design. I've done television design, storyboarding, like all sorts of things. Okay. And product design. And that's the reason I liked that career is that I wanted to design a broad range of things. I wanted to be in illustration. Okay. So I wanted to do a lot of things. I don't know that everybody wants to do that big, broad thing. Being a specialist is fine. I never wanted to be a specialist. I wanted to go, okay, now I'm doing a theme park. Now I'm doing toys. Now I'm doing product. Now I'm doing a set design, whatever. Okay, I like that. But if you want to have that kind of broad design sense, then it's about draftsmanship, design, and painting, I'd say. And then you go into all your digital tools and all that kind of stuff, right? But you got to have, this is a fundamental class. It happens to be in Photoshop, but it's a fundamental class. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And I want you to use me as a resource, okay? That I like my job. I always tell my classes this. I love my job, okay? I love this school, okay? I went to this school, turned my life around 180%. It's what gave me a career, really. I went from there, I went to Art Center, and then I went to Imagineering, okay? I had good mentors, I had good teachers, and they had a good program then. We have a way better program now. And it's designed by 3 people who came out of 20 years each experience in the industry. So it's a combined industry experience of 60 years just between the 3 of us, okay? And we designed the program around that idea, which is a very Art Center idea, to be honest, but that's fine, okay? And we're here to help you guys, okay? That's our job. Okay, I don't really look at I have to keep good control of this class, obviously, and I have to lead this class, obviously, but I also like a dialogue going. I'm not somebody who's going to chew your head off over anything. I just don't do that. The only time that I get irritated is if people are lazy or late all the time and that kind of stuff. That is irritating to me, but if people are working hard, I want to make sure that I'm helping you guys, okay? And once in a while I need to do, and I used to do this in the classroom during my office hours. Sometimes people go, I'm not getting this. And I sit down with them for an hour or 2 and we just go over that one thing and then they get it and then they can move on. This is like anything else. It builds on a foundational structure where you're building on it. I don't want you to miss a step there and then you feel off balance for the rest of the class. I don't want that going on. Okay. And that's on me to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay. That's what happened to me with math in grade school. And that's why I can't do math. And it was my fault, but I missed a bunch of foundational steps there, and then I was just lost forever. And it's always been in my brain that, like, I don't want to teach that way. I want to make sure that you guys are learning in a methodical, systemic way. Okay.
Got it.
And again, I know I say this over and over again, there's no stupid questions in here. And especially with Photoshop, you guys, I want you to understand this. If you're new to Photoshop, and this is from my experience when I first learned it, because you gotta remember when I first learned it is when it was first starting, basically, right? It has its own language, okay? It has its own logic that when you first start with it, to me anyway, it didn't make any sense. I'm like, I don't get this. Like it's not intuitive to me. Illustrator was more intuitive. I make a line, it's a line, okay? I make a shape and I fill the shape with color. That's like drawing. That's a little bit like painting. Photoshop kind of has its own logic, and there's a reason that it has its own logic. But once you understand the logic and once you get comfortable in it, you'll feel comfortable with it and you'll get it. And then once you go out of here, I mean, this program is insanely deep, and no class is going to go through every single thing in there. Otherwise, the class has to be a year long or something. But you're going to have enough knowledge and everything to do a lot of things you want to do. And then you're going to have enough base knowledge where if you go, hey, I need to learn this, you can easily add that to your skill set. You just go, oh, that's a sub menu there. You can just figure those things out. It's not that hard, okay? One of the things I used to do in my career a lot is if I go, hey, I want to do something like that, buildings on fire or whatever, right? And then I'd go on YouTube and go tutorial building on fire. And somebody's already figured it out. And I go, okay, I get it. And then I might modify that to make my own version of it or whatever. Or I might just do it out of my head or whatever. But, you know, if somebody's already figured all these things out. And once you have a base knowledge of any program, it's not hard to add new tricks to your toolbox. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Everybody's ready to go?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow we're just going to start with simple selections, simple tools. I'll probably go over a little bit of bridge because I want you guys to start using that right off the bat. Really helpful program, by the way, you guys. If you're managing a lot of files, it's a really good file management program. I have right now, even because I don't do a lot of active design work anymore since I started working because I just don't have time. But I'm doing a lot of stuff for my girlfriend's restaurant. She has a brewery and all that kind of stuff. And I've got all these versions of everything, and that helps me. And I just went in there yesterday because we go, hey, I did that logo or whatever a month ago. I think we should start launching that or whatever. And I go in there and I go, crap, I don't remember which one was the last one. I don't remember which, you know, it just starts to get confusing, and Bridge will help you manage that stuff where you can go through an approval process and all that thing. So when you go in and you go, which one was approved? It's like, boom, it's marked. Which ones in order of how good they are, you know, so you can mark, you can star them and all that. And anyway, it's a really good, simple file man. We're not going to get deep into it. It's just a very simple file management system. If you want to go deeper with it, that's fine, but I just want to touch on it. Okay.
Okay.
And I think that's all I have for today. And again, and no more questions?
No. Yeah.
Okay, let me get a
I have a
screenshot
question.
here. Go ahead.
I don't know which type of computer you use for Photoshop, but for Mac they just updated Catalina, or updated their OS X to Catalina.
Mhm.
And I heard that Photoshop has been very glitchy because it's just the newest thing, so they need time to revise the software for OX.
I think that's true in general. You know, when software first the new version gets released or whatever, there's usually, you know, buggy stuff. I just hold off on it for a little bit and just, you know, let it settle in. Okay. I mean, I just think that's normal. You know, a lot of people, I don't tend to do this, but a lot of people, they wait for a little while. I like to update things as soon as it happens because it forces me to learn the new stuff. I don't ever want to be an old dog with old tricks. I don't like that idea. I know people who go, I still use Photoshop 5. It's fine. I'm like, you're out of your mind. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? Why would you use Photoshop 5 and it's 2020? It's nuts. And then when I used to run teams and things like that, when I would get a freelancer and they go, hey, I use Photoshop 5, so can you dumb the files down? I go, forget it, dude. You're not doing this job. Forget it. You just lost a job. I'm not dumbing down my files for you. Forget it. And I think most people are going to do that. Okay. I had people that used to go, I use Corel Draw, and I go, forget it. Not industry standard. We're not doing that. You're fired. I'm done. You know, I'm going to go get somebody who doesn't make a freelancer, by the way, in my world, was only there as a release valve when my team was overwhelmed. So then I could go, I want to give this to somebody that gets it off everybody's plate. That's your only value as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So if you come back to me and go, hey, by the way I work is kind of a pain in the ass, I go, you're gone. You know what I mean? Make sure that you're always up to date on things. And I'm not saying with the OS, I think you can hold off on that. But when it comes to like Creative Cloud sort of updates on its own now. But anything comes up and it's update, just do it. You know what I mean? Just get it over with, and then you start in a day, you're used to it, and who cares, right?
Yeah.
And you're never some old fart, you know, going, I still use whatever. You know, it's just like, you don't want to do that. It's just the same thing with the Adobe suite. People used to come in like the 90s, and you go, you know, you'd interview them or whatever, and they'd go, I'm good at Adobe or whatever. And at that time, that was relevant. when people come in now and they go, and I go, well, you know, what's your thing or whatever, and they go Adobe, I go, you don't need to tell me Adobe. I assume you know Adobe. Why would you even tell me that? It tells me right off the bat you're out of touch. Okay, you don't want to be out of touch. Okay.
Yeah.
You
Thank
always
you.
want to be up to date. Let me see if I did. I just get. Hang on. I want to see if I got a screen capture. I think I did.
And then, Mike, it doesn't matter if we use Windows or Mac, right, to do
No, I
this
don't
class?
No, that
Okay.
doesn't matter. I'd say one thing it's really good to do in today's world is just to be cross-platform. I'm somebody who's fought that forever. I worked for one company that was on Windows, absolutely hated it. And this was probably in like probably 2000 or something. Hated it. Okay. And I still hate Windows, but I've decided that like, stop doing that. You know, just like when we're in class, in the Cintiq lab, those are all Windows, and I'm always yelling at Windows, and I go, stop doing that. It's not good for the class for me to be yelling at Windows all the time. Just get used to Windows and stop being a jerk about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Be cross-platform. There's certain things that do make sense on Windows. Like I think Frank in his class is 3D stuff. I think some of that stuff, works better on Windows or whatever. You'd have to talk to him. So you just need to be cross-platform at this point. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, makes sense.
But no, it doesn't matter. This program's cross-platform, and it doesn't make any difference really. Okay. I mean, it's
Sounds
the same
good.
program.
Thank you.
It's the same program in both things. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One other thing, if you guys have questions on other things, I just talked about my background. My background's very broad. If you have questions about other things, one of the things that our job here is for you guys that are dipping your toe in different things, come and talk to me about it. Like, go, hey, I'm kind of thinking about, I love it when you guys do this, by the way, because we want to make sure you have a clear path, okay? And what students do is they come in and they go, boom, they start taking character design. I'm like, whoa, have you taken life drawing? No. Well, how are you going to character design? Like, I don't understand that. You draw people like crap, but you're going to be a character designer? That doesn't make any sense. It's like you need to build things in a sort of systemic way, in a clear, I need this, then this, then this, then this, and that's part of our job. Also, if you have questions about different career paths, there's a lot of career paths in this world that you guys don't know about, like industrial design. There's a bunch of them, okay, that you might not have been exposed to. I meet students all the time and they go, I want to be this, that, and the other. And I go, no, you don't. You ever seen industrial design? No. Take them over to Art Center, they go industrial design, and their jaw hits the floor and they go, that's what I want to do. But they didn't know, I was that guy. I didn't know about industrial design. When I saw it over there, I went, holy crap, that's the missing part of the puzzle. So make sure you talk to me about that sort of thing. Last term, I had a student who was in advertising. She had a lot of interesting questions around that, really interesting questions around that. And talk to me. I have a broad background, and if I don't know, I'll direct you to somebody who does know. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Mm-hmm.
And those can be offline conversations. They don't have to be in class. They can be in class because I actually like them in class. But if you're like, hey, look, I think this is involved, let's do an offline meeting or whatever. Totally cool. Okay. Again, use me as a resource. I am here to help you. Okay. That's my job. Okay. And again, I like my job. I wake up in the morning thinking about this job. I go to sleep thinking about it, trying to make it better, trying to make my, what I'm doing better, trying to be a better instructor. That's all I think about mostly, that and drawing and painting and whatever else I do. Okay. But it's all locked together. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, you guys, I'll let you go. Tomorrow it's 10:30. I will always try and keep in this room. This is my meeting room, but for probably this week, maybe into next week, I'll put announcements up with the link. Okay. And then what I'll start doing, so what you're going to start getting is a link to the meeting, even though it's always going to be in this room. And then a link to a folder. That folder will be on Google, okay? It'll be a Google Drive folder. And what's going to be in there is whatever it is we've been working on, 1/2 hour, no later than 1/2 hour before class. I want all your work in there, okay? Because I got to go in and download it and all that stuff, and I don't want to do it during class, okay? And then I'm going to have a folder on my desktop with all your work, and then I'm going to go through all your work and go through the problems and do corrections and all that kind of stuff. Don't put things on Canvas. I don't use Canvas for that. I hub everything on Canvas, okay? So I might put some discussion boards up there, just broad discussion boards. I'm not going to grade those things or anything. They're just for you guys, all of us, to talk a little bit. If you guys learn something new or something like that, because you guys are all going to learn stuff that I don't know. you guys are all going to go, or know some little trick I don't know, and share it with the class, okay? And share it with me, because it might be something I incorporate into my what I'm teaching, okay? All of us can learn from each other. I think discussions are good. I'm not talking about forcing a discussion, but a lot of times I just put a broad discussion folder on Canvas. Just, if somebody goes, hey, check out this artist, or check out this cool technique, or check out whatever, okay? I like you guys having that cross talk, okay? And I'm not somebody who likes my classroom. Again, I'm not somebody that likes my classroom to be a morgue. I like to have some back and forth, okay? I like discussion. Okay, I keep saying I'm done, and then I keep going. Okay, I'll put up the link for tomorrow. It's always 10:30, Monday through Thursday. It's always going to be in this room, but I'll put it up anyway. I noticed that if I put it up as a recurring meeting, it creates its own room. I just don't like that for some reason. I like it being in my normal room. That way, if I forget to link it, you go, oh, it's in that same room. And obviously, you won't have a folder yet because we don't have any work to do yet. And we'll just start on real basic stuff tomorrow, okay?
Got
Sounds
it.
good.
All right, you guys, thanks.
Okay.
And I'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right. And then Mike, no work later than 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah,
Is that-
just get everything in the folder when we start doing that by 10 in the morning.
Okay, sounds good.
Because, and by the way, especially in this class, because sometimes I go in there and I might ask you guys to put in the files layered so I can, correct them and things.
Mm-hmm.
So they might be big files. So it might take me, that whole half hour to download them. And I usually I start going in usually probably an hour or so before, or when I wake up or something, I'll go check. And if there's some already in there, I'll download all those. And here's the other thing. When I download the folders, the work out of the folder, the Google Drive folder, I eliminate them all. Because what I do is I take them all and put them on my desktop, and then I eliminate all those there. So if you go, because students always go back and they go, it's gone, and they reload it again. It's like, it's gone because I took it out of there. And I'm trying to keep the folder empty so it doesn't fill up, because this is a lot of work. Okay.
Okay.
It's worked pretty good. Okay. We're all learning this stuff. Hopefully we're back in the classroom in fall. Right now they're saying we're not, but I think there's a chance we will. Also, as soon as I have information about the lab situation, you're not going to really need unless you want to, depending on what you have at home. At first, we're not going to be doing anything that touches a tablet or any of that kind of stuff. So you're not going to need that. But I will find out the lab information hopefully today. Okay. And we're going to try and have it open like a couple days a week. All right.
All
So
right.
if you want to use the Cintiq, you can go in there and all that kind of stuff. Okay, guys, I'll stop rambling and I'll start rambling again tomorrow at 10:30. Okay.
All right. Okay.
All
Bye,
right.
Mike.
Thank you guys.
See ya.